A really easy and effective way of displaying data is to use a circle graph. They are especially easy to read. They're a little bit more difficult to make. Yesterday in class, or today in class, we talked about a day in the life of a seventh grader. The life. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. And we divided it, we kind of brainstormed various ways that you spend time, and not that these are specific, nor are they, and they varied quite a bit, but for the purposes of creating a circle graph, we said that the average kid sleeps about 8 hours, goes to school in classes about 6 hours, does homework for about 2 hours, has activities, and that can be sports and whatever, for about 2 hours. Downtime of, whether it's texting or TV or just plain chilling, 3. Eating, 1. I thought that was a bit on the short side, but, and then other, which is time in the car or whatever, the other, the things that aren't characterized. So, we think about what that would look like if we put it into a circle. Oh dear, this always happens. Okay. Whoa. Okay. I thought I had the perfect circle, but anyway, so here we have our not so quite perfect circle. And we need to see about what part of the circle each of these little slices of the pie should be. And after a bit of a discussion, some kids said, well, I know that 8 hours is a third of 24, and so I know it's going to look something like the peace sign, as one person said. But as a mathematician, I want to make sure that that's much more specific. And though I can't really do a lesson for protractors here, I can say that this is all related to what we did with ratios and proportions. Sleep, the fraction of sleep, or the ratio, is a part-to-whole ratio, where 8 is the part out of 24. Now the eraser works. Okay, out of 24. That's the part to whole. And the question is, what is the whole circle? Well, if you remember, all of the degrees of a circle add up to 360. So if I want to find out exactly what this piece should be, it should be in the same ratio as 8 out of 24 is what? Out of 360. This is called the central angle. When I solve this, I will find it to be 120 degrees, and if I measure this all out, this angle, I can see that this is in fact 120, and 120 is a third of the pie. So when I do this, I then have to label my piece, and I call it sleep. Again, I'm not going to show you how to measure with a protractor, but I am going to tell you how to find the number of degrees in the central angle. Here's the central angle. It's 120, because 120 out of 360 is the same as 8 out of 24. This is a part-to-whole ratio. Oh, I'm still in red. Part-to-whole. In this situation, the hours of the day in the day is the whole thing, and the number of hours in the activity of that part is going to equal, needs to be in the same ratio as whatever it is to the whole circle. This is called finding the central angle. Another kind of statistical way of looking at things that we've seen over and over again, we just finished our last unit on, is what percent that would be. So again, if I say, well, let's do a different one now. Let's say I have 3 hours of downtime out of 24. Now, if I want to find the central angle, I say x out of 360. And by the way, this is way easier mathematically if you notice that 3/24 is the same as 1/8. And then you say x out of 360, and this is just a matter of dividing 360 by 8, and that comes out to 45. So the central angle is 45 degrees. Sometimes another way of comparing data that we've looked at is percent. And we know that percent means out of 100. So I can look at this same ratio, saying 3 out of 24, part to whole, is what out of 100? And when I do that, again, I have a proportion I can solve, but it's, again, easier to say 1/8 is what out of 100, and in fact, I'm hoping you all know that that's 12.5%. So 12.5% of the circle is 45 degrees. The central angle, we do the part to the whole equals x out of 360, because the whole circle is 360. If I'm doing the percent, I say the part out of the whole is equal to what out of 100, because percent, the whole, is 100.